Hey everybody, G-Man here, and I'm here with my parts tip number 7. We're going to talk about a super exciting, fun topic today, and it is order types. So probably not the sexiest or most exciting thing to talk about, but very important, very important. I've been talking a lot about the groundwork and your system settings, and so this is another setting that I want to make sure that we get right. And if you don't have it set up correctly, this can have some consequences for you. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a parts department that has had one order type, and you may be thinking, what does that matter, G-Man? What difference does it make? We're getting parts on the shelf, and that's true. I mean, it wasn't like they weren't ordering parts or they weren't getting parts on the shelf, but it makes it really hard to use the metrics to help me uncover opportunity there. So if you really want to get good at managing your parts department, there's certain key performance indicators that you're going to want to always be looking at. And if you don't have your settings set up right, then those aren't going to be there for you to measure. And in measuring those, let's say you find a problem there, that problem is actually an opportunity. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as I go through this tip. But that's really what we're looking for. It's not to shame us and say, oh, bad job, bad job. It is for us to look at and say, wow, if I improve this number, this would be the return that I would expect to get in my department. And it puts you in control. How often as managers do we feel out of control? Well, those metrics and measurements really put us in the driver's seat. So let's talk about order types and what that means. So when I say one order type, what I find a lot of times is either they're using a stock order type or a customer order type, and ordering everything that they do, they order under that one order type. So then when you run your management report out of your DMS, it shows this big block it doesn't separate your orders. And so think about that for a second. So let's say I have an emergency purchase and I need to place an order and I got to go out and get a part, right? That's an emergency purchase. And that is the most expensive way to buy a part. And so as a manager, I'm going to want to know that event took place. I'm going to want to know how many times that event took place and what the dollar figure is of those parts that I purchased in that manner. Because again, if that is the lowest profit part that I will ever sell, then I need to understand why that's happening. If I'm emergency purchasing a part several times a month, then I should probably have that part on the shelf. And it's a trigger for me to be able to go back and look at my system and try to find out what's going on with that part number. Now, if I don't have that input coming in from my order types, if I'm not measuring my order types accurately, then I never get that data. That never comes at me, and I never get to make that change. And I'm truly missing out on that opportunity to improve my margins and improve my department. So that's how important it is. The other thing too is it's overnights. I see a lot of times, sometimes people don't even put in order types for overnights. And what ends up happening is you don't even know what's out there. I've seen this happen in a lot of different cases, and hopefully that's not you out there, but I've seen where they just there's no order type at all for overnights. And when a customer comes in, you don't even know where it's at or what's going on with it. So that's a dangerous way to talk about being out of control. It's a dangerous way to run a parts department, and I don't recommend it. So let's back up a little bit and let's break this down. So there are essentially 4 main order types that I want to talk about today. You can add more if you have different variables. You can add more in there, but let's just talk about the 4 main ones that I would recommend anybody use. And the first one obviously is a stock order. So you're going to want to run a daily stock order. You're going to want to use a specific order type for that. Now, I know there's a lot of DMSs where you can roll your customer orders into your stock order. You can roll them both at the same time. And yeah, that might save you a little bit of time, but I really like to look at them separately. Managing this data is what the job's all about. And I really want to see those orders separated. I want to look at the stock order separate from the customer order. And that's going to help guide me again towards those opportunities. And if I mix them all together, it can get a little confusing. And that's obviously not a good thing, especially when it comes to parts. So So a stock order, first of all, and then I would run a customer order. So I would, have my guys have a customer order type every time they have to special order something, just a standard special order, that they would use that order type. And then I would roll that, and I would have that chunk of parts that I can take a look at and examine separate from everything else. Then my third order type is going to be overnight. So this is a critical one because you're going to want to know what you're ordering, what your overnight orders are. You're going to want to know what you're ordering using special handling. In a lot of cases, this comes at a premium from the manufacturer. So these parts are going to be a little bit more expensive. So I want to know the quantity. I'm going to want to know the dollar amount. I'm going to want to know how often. I've seen in cases where they're next day airing a part over and over and over again, and it's something that we should have on the shelf, and we don't because there's some broken system setting somewhere deep in the part number that we have to fix, and that will get it back on the replenishment cycle. And so your people are kind of moving, and you hope that they stop and say, "Hey, boss, by the way, I got this weird thing that's happening." But in a lot of cases, they're just looking to get through to the next customer, the next order. So you want to make sure that you have, as a manager, or you have delegated off to somebody that is like an inventory manager, that they have some sort of cue to go in and examine these numbers and make sure that we're doing the right thing with them, that we don't have opportunity kind of going by as we're caught in the whirlwind. So that's the third order type. So stock order, customer order, and then your next day air or special handling, let's call it. If you have that, sometimes they have a 2-day. You can break those up. If you have a one overnight and an actual 2-day, you can add 2 of those in there. And then finally, you're going to want to have what I call a hold status or a parked status for your orders, for your customer orders, and your overnights for that matter. But you're going to want to have one order type that you can use to park things in a spot so that you can get back to them later. And I'm not going to tell you why on this tip because I'm going to save that for my next one. So my next tip, I'm going to talk about that hold status, my hold order type, and or parked, however you want to frame it, and why I would use that, and what that's going to be used for, and how that's going to help you to manage your special orders and get a bigger return on the parts that you're ordering for the shop and over the counter. So that'll be coming on my next one. So just to review, set up your order types. This will help you look for opportunity, watch the part numbers that are getting ordered in these order types, make sure that you have the right parts on the shelf at the right time. This will also help you manage your stock order performance. How well are you doing with your inventory? It's another marker for that. This is going to help you with your fill off the shelf rate, because your fill off the shelf rate, in that calculation, that's based on your order types and how you're ordering your parts. Obviously, any part sold from a stock order would be considered a stocking part, and that will help your fill off the shelf rate. So if you're ordering everything under customer, you never even get a chance to look at what that ratio is. So all these metrics are all tied into how well you manage that and how well you have your order type set up. So I recommend go back, take a look at it, get that set up. We're going to talk about that hold or parked order status on my next tip. So we'll see you tomorrow. Hey everybody, G-Man here. I want to say thank you for watching this video, and I hope that you got something out of it. If you did, if you got any value at all, please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube so you can stay up to date with all the content that we're bringing out. And if you have any questions at all or you need help with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Leave a comment on Facebook or YouTube, or you can email us, Gary@jdicoaching.com, and we'll get right back to you. Thanks again.